Good morning. I'm Dr. Tom Rivera, and this morning, in continuation with our oral history of South Colton, we have two guests. We have Mr. Jose Hernandez, who is a lifelong resident of Colton, born and raised in Colton. And is that right? Did I say it correctly? Born and raised in Colton?
Yeah.
Okay, very good. And then we have Mr. David Gasca, who was also born and raised in Colton. And I want to thank you very much for being with us this morning, especially on a beautiful day like today. And we're at the Fowle Library at Cal State San Bernardino, and it's about 9:15 on June the 19th. So why don't we get started? First of all, I know that both of you are veterans, military veterans. Joe, you're World War II, and David, you're a veteran of the Korean conflict.
Korean, right.
And why don't we start with you, Joe? You mentioned that you were at Colton High School and you were a junior, and somehow an opportunity came to you where you could train to be an airplane mechanic at Norton. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, well, I didn't like to go to school too much, so I spent about 2 years in high school. And then they were just opening, they didn't call it Norton, it was Army Air Force base in San Bernardino, and they were just trying to get some more mechanics, get them started because the war was just starting, and they didn't know how long it was going to last. So I went over and applied for the schooling that they were giving, and they did pick me up, and I went to school part there for being an aircraft mechanic.
And you were there for, after they picked you up, you went to Valley College and you got some more training at Valley College.
Yeah, well, that was part of their training. Part of the schooling was at Valley College.
And then after Valley College, you went back to
Went
Norton.
back to Norton, yeah.
What year was that, Joe?
That was in 1943, I believe it was, 43.
You must have been, what, about 16 years old, 17 years old?
16,
Yeah.
15, 16.
Yeah. And then after you were there at Norton for a couple of years, or how long were you there? Then you joined the Navy?
And joined the Navy, yeah.
And how long were you in the Navy?
I was in the Navy from 1944, the last part of 44, to 1952.
And then after that, you came out of the Navy as a veteran,
Yeah.
and then you went back to Norton?
Yeah, they had a regulation that whatever job you left for the service, they had to pick you up again.
And that's what happened in your
That's
case.
what happened to me.
And then you decided that you still didn't like that, so you went back in the Navy again.
Oh yeah,
Uh-huh.
Well, I had a broken area there between 44 and 46, and then I joined the Navy again, and I went to work for about 6 months at Norton, and then they decided, well, that's getting boring and what have you, so I joined again in 1940, that's part of 46, and I didn't get out till 1952.
Uh-huh. And then came back to
Came
Norton.
back again to Norton.
They couldn't get rid of you at Norton.
No, they couldn't.
And you were at Norton for how many years?
A total of 39 years total.
39
Yeah,
years.
they included my service time into my seniority because of the federal job and my military. So they added my military time to my civilian.
That's a good
time.
deal. That was a
So
good
that
deal. It was a good deal. And then from Norton, you also, where the war equipment or the weaponry improved. We went to missiles and all those modern activities, and
Yeah.
you were trained, and they sent you to school to also train on how to repair or upkeep some of those missiles in different bases throughout the country.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And you like that?
Yeah, it was pretty good. It was interesting
Uh-huh.
and scary at times.
Scary?
So-
Why do you mean scary?
Well, you know, you work on these silos, and the missile sits in the center of the silo, and then they got platforms. Some platforms went up like this, and some platforms went up like this at different levels.
Uh-huh.
And the ones I hated, the ones I didn't like too well, the ones that came from the bottom up like that, 'cause you didn't know whether those things could go down and that'd be the end of you. So,
So
that
anyway,
was kind of scary. And some of those missiles, like the Titan 1 or the Titan 2, they were loaded all the time, and you could hear, you could put your ear to the missile itself, you could hear a little bit of bubbling, you know.
It's a 10 megaton.
Yeah, and they were loaded with an atomic bomb already, with a warhead and
Uh-huh.
everything.
yeah.
So it was a risky business, and you had to go in, and they used to call it escape pack, and you trained for that because they don't, in case they had a leak or something, and you smell some of the fumes, it'll kill you, you know.
Oh, yeah.
So what they done, they train you, they gave you about 15 or 20 minutes of air with those escape packs, they call them.
Yeah.
And you had to get out of there quick, you know.
So anyway,
Because if you ran out of breathing air from that air, then you started breathing the air that's contaminated, and you would,
they were dead duck
yeah,
then.
you couldn't make it.
Yeah. Now you mentioned that you didn't graduate from high school. You went to
No.
Colton High School, but you got your diploma. Can you show us your diploma that you recently got? Yeah. Apparently, the county of San Bernardino schools provided diplomas for veterans of World
Mhm.
War II
Sure.
that did not complete their high school diploma. And you got this from the county of San Bernardino,
Mhm.
and that date is, I cannot see a date here. Let's see. I don't see a date here, but it was done just recently because Gary Thomas is still the county superintendent of schools.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, could you just hold it up and just
Sure.
show it to the camera? High school diploma because Joe did not complete his high school. He went into, I guess, paramilitary service to make sure that our airplane engines were running right in preparation for the war. Well, congratulations. That's a wonderful thing that was awarded to you just recently. Yeah, congratulations.
Mhm.
And
Thank
David, you were a Korean veteran. You were a Korean veteran, and when did you join the service?
In July 1951, I had been out of school, and I got a notice from the, what was it, selected board at that time, I think it was, that
Yeah, yeah.
take a physical. I took a physical in LA. They took us in a bus over there and passed the physical, and that I would be notified to go in the Army. I went home and I said, Army, I don't want to be in the Army. So I went to the Air Force recruiter and got recruited. And I left in July to San Antonio, Texas for basic training at Lackland Air Force Base. From there, I was classified as a automotive mechanic because in high school I had taken trades, wood shop, automotive, sheet metal machine stuff. And so I had a little background. So they sent us to a tech school in Okmulgee, Oklahoma. It was affiliated with Oklahoma A&M. And from there, we completed. It was kind of simple for me because I had already had the basics. And I was stationed from there to Denver, Colorado Laurie Air Force Base. I was there a year. So I started working on fire engines. It was a school for fire people, firemen. So I had the equipment, and we had to keep it up. Let me retract back a little bit. In high school, my last year, I had to fill in a class, so I took typing. That's where all the girls were.
Oh, you were not a dummy, really.
No, no. So anyway, going back to Denver, I was working on the fire engines, and some sergeant came over and he said, "You know how to type?" I said, "A little bit," and I guess he looked at my records. So we need you over here in the office. So I went in the office and I was scheduling vehicles to come in for maintenance and what have you. I was there exactly a year, and then I was shipped overseas to Casablanca, North Africa, Morocco. There again, I started working on vehicles because that was my, what they call MOS. So again, a few weeks down the line, a fella came over and said, "You know how to type?" And I said, "Yeah." So again, they put me in the office to start scheduling vehicles. After so many miles, it had to come in for a tune-up, tires, whatever that it consisted of. So I was there a year and a half. During that time, I took leave and went to Spain as a tourist. And I came back 18 months later, and I was stationed at March Air Force Base, Riverside. There again, I was put into the automotive shop. And there again, for my last year of typing,
It really has paid off.
it sure did. I didn't have to get dirty full of grease and
Well, not
climb.
only that, but you got all the girls, and then you got all the cushy jobs overseas when you were in the service.
So there again, I had to do the contracts for anything the base couldn't do automotive. Purge the JP4 tankers, the buses, the cars, the trucks. I had the general's car painted, but I had to contract it outside the base.
So you did that at Barge Field for how many years, David?
I was there about a year, and then I got discharged there.
And what year was that when you got discharged?
1955.
1955, and then you came back to Colton?
Came back to Colton and started looking for a job, and I went over in South Colton. There was a pipe, concrete conduit was the name of that place. Remember?
Las Pipas.
Las Pipas, they
Las
used to call
Pipas,
it. Yeah. Went over there and I'm gonna give me a job here. It was, and the guy said, "Yeah."
I'm a veteran.
Yeah, I'm a veteran. I
Great,
want
I'm
a- I want
wonderful.
a job, you
I
know.
traveled all over the
And
world.
the guy told me, he said, "Come back tomorrow. We got some weeds over there. We want you to hold and pick out." I went home and I said, "Man, this is not it." So meanwhile, I had put an application at Norton, and I got a job over there. I started what they call a box factory. Used to make boxes and crates for shipping parts of aircrafts. I didn't stay there too long. From there, there was an opening in sheet metal, and they sent me for just schooling, maybe a couple of weeks in sheet metal, and I was working on the Globemaster, I think it was.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that had the big door in the front that opened
Yeah.
up front.
Clamshell.
And worked on that for a while, and then basically I was more of an engine person, so there was an opening in jet engines. So I worked jet engines. I worked on the J78, I think, J57, Pratt and Whitney engines, and after that, I think we worked together in the missile. We went to missiles.
Yeah.
The first missile that was there was the Thor, and that was basically used in England. Then the Atlas I, the Atlas II came into effect. And when I got in, the Titan I and the Titan II, the one he was talking about. So they sent me to school to Shepherd Air Force Base in Wichita Falls, Texas. And there they taught us everything about the missile, except the bomb. We never. I remember they put us in a room and put your pencils down and just listen. And I remember there was 5 safety devices before the bomb would ignite. And came back to Norton, and we covered the southwest. We were in teams, and we covered Rapid City, South Dakota, Ellsworth Air Force Base, Cheyenne, Vandenberg, Arizona, Tucson.
Tucson, yeah.
I don't recall another one. Denver, yeah, Denver. Most of the time that I spent was in South Dakota and Tucson, and we worked in the silos underneath. And he reminded me what he just said, that they called it the escape suit. It was the initial escape suit, and a lot of the guys didn't want to get into them. So I said, I'll get into it. So it was like a spacesuit with a bubble, and you had a pack in the back inside where oxygen, so you could breathe. And all those valves down underneath in the silo, they were pressurized, and you couldn't see it or smell the fuel. And if it came across you, they showed us pictures where your arms would just be sawed off. And if you got the fluid on you, it would affect your skin. So you had to wear this suit. And so we'd go down the levels, and they had these platforms that came down. The missile was here, and the platforms would come down there, and then there was doors, and you had to work inside. Change pumps or electrical.
So just the upkeep of the equipment.
Maintain it, have it ready, and it was ready. And we would lean against that, take a break. We would lean on sit on the platform and lean against that bomb. If that thing ever went off, we'd be ashes.
You had a lot of power behind your back that was
And,
protecting you.
yeah.
Let me kind of shift a little bit and just say, it seems that both of you, I had no idea that both of you were not only veterans, World War II and Korean, but also you had a wonderful opportunity to continue providing service to our country by working at Norton Air Force Base. That both of you had great opportunities, not only military, but also job opportunities by working in the military base at Norton. And in getting back to Colton, David, you were heavily involved, much involved in the Veterans Organization. You were part of the Fidel Hernandez post in South Colton. You were also part of the American GI Forum in San Diego. And now you're very actively, have been for many years, almost 40 years, actively involved with the American Legion Post 155 in Colton. Your brother, Joe, your brother Fidel, was a bombardier. He was a turret gunner with a P-17s that flew from France to Germany and bombed Germany. And in one of the missions in 1942, November 23rd, 1942, they suffered some plane damage, and they did not make it to their base, and they were lost at sea. They were lost at sea. Your brother was one of the 11 airmen that was lost at sea. So the citizens of Colton, the veterans that came back from World War II, decided to start the post, the Fidel Hernandez post in South Colton. David, do you remember what the number of that was?
I believe it was 754, if I'm.
I
You don't recall?
754?
I believe so.
Because we've had 26 sessions here with our oral history project, and we could never figure out who the post was named after, Joe. So now we know. It was your older brother who the post was named after. And can you tell me, any of you, can you tell me who was involved in organizing the post? Some of the guys, can you remember some of the guys?
Los Olivas.
The Oliva brothers.
Angel Olivas?
Pascual Oliva,
And Pascual
Angel
Oliva.
Oliva, and
Pascual.
Quito was there.
Who's Quito? What's the last name?
Quito Oliva.
Quito Oliva?
What was his first name? Do you remember?
I don't know.
They used to call him Quito.
Uh-huh.
God, I don't know his name.
And Lacqua.
Yeah, that was Pascual.
Pascual.
That was a nickname too.
Pascual, yeah.
So the Oliva brothers, and who else, David? Joe, can you remember?
Well, my uncle Eddie Colunga was there.
Eddie Colunga was also there.
who was that guy who used to play a saxophone, tenor sax? Mm, uh, the barber, Nacho.
Nacho Calde.
Oh, Nacho
Na-
Cabrera.
Cabrera, Nacho
Cabrera, yeah,
Okay.
he was active in that too.
Okay.
Yeah, we helped parades and we had funerals and stuff like that.
Well, in starting the post, where did you meet? Where was the post located?
It was located across from the Sombrero and the Caldera building, which had two
Oh, yeah.
stories.
Okay.
Two stories, and we held our meetings upstairs. Downstairs, he had a business of torteria. He sold.
So Cabrera, Mr. Juan Cabrera, building, the building that was used,
No, Juan Caldera.
Caldera. Juan
Yeah.
Caldera?
Yes, the older Juan Caldera. Then there was
Yeah,
another
yeah.
one.
Okay.
Yeah,
And they owned the building across the street from El Sombrero.
right.
On
yeah.
7th
On
Street.
7th Street.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the American Legion, the post, Fidel Hernandez met on the second floor.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah. And how long did the organization last? Do you remember?
I don't recall how long. Do you recall?
No, but I know that there was getting less and less people, less veterans, and that's why it
Yeah.
faded away.
Members were dying away, and
Uh-huh.
nobody was coming in, and so it folded up.
Okay.
What happened because of
Okay.
lack of participation. But there was another post in Colton, which was still going on.
Yeah. Before I leave and talk about the other post, we have a picture of Fidel here. Joe, would you mind holding it up for the camera? Your brother, Joe. Yeah, I'll just point it to Frank. And anyway, Frank, maybe we can take that and scan that and put it into our files. But you know, that's I finally learned who the post was named after that. So thank you both for the information. Thank you so much. And getting back,
I brought the pictures. I wanted to put a face on the subject.
There you go.
I'm glad you did. I'm glad you did. And we'll borrow that and we'll scan it and put it as part of our archive files. And you mentioned the other American Legion, David. You mentioned the American Legion that you belong to also.
155.
155.
Mhm.
And when you first went to the American Legion Post, what happened? What was the reception like?
Well, in those days it was kind of cold. It was.
What year was that? Do you remember?
I showed up there around 55 after
Okay.
I got out, and it was very segregated. You didn't feel comfortable in there. And the first Hispanic to come in there was, as a matter of fact, we just buried him yesterday. His name was Tony Lemos.
Tony Lemos was the first member of that
Hispanic.
155 Post?
Yeah, he was first commander also, and he went all through the chairs. He was originally from Casablanca, and he moved to Colton and lived there many years. And then slowly we started getting in there, and now I would say it's a good 95-97% Hispanic.
And how many members do you have?
Approximately 200, give or take.
Okay, and 95% of them are
Mhm.
Mexican American Latinos.
Right.
Yeah.
And we do what they call Boy State. It's one of the programs that we do. Besides scholarships, we do scholarships, Boy State. We send 2 boys to Sacramento to learn the politics, and they stay there at what's it, Berkeley? What's the college?
There's Cal State Sacramento.
Cal State.
It's Cal State Sacramento, yeah.
Sacramento. They go over there and they're from the state. President Clinton was a Boy Stater from his state. Anyway, they learn the politics and they come back. They're sophomores. And they have to be sophomores then. So we put all that, and it takes money. We have golf tournaments, and we have scholarships, and we support the local little leagues and what have you.
Oh, very good. So
So-
you're actively involved in the
Oh,
community
absolutely.
and giving back to the community.
Yeah.
Yeah, we, getting back to the Fidel Hernandez post, were the members involved? Because again, it was mostly South Colton participation. Were the members that were in the Fidel Hernandez post, were they actively involved with Congress of Community Clubs or Los Progresistas or Las Fiestas Patrias?
Oh, yeah. There was Manuel Padilla originated, he wasn't a American Legion member, but he originated the club, oh my God, memory. It was United Clubs of
Congress of Community
Congress
Clubs?
of Community Clubs.
Uh-huh.
I think he was the originator of it. So that our clubs wouldn't conflict with the events, we met. There was a representative from each club, and we would state our events, our projects, whatever. So it was a good move.
So it was a coordinating type of activity.
Right.
Yeah, and that was in the 50s?
Yes.
In the 50s.
Hmm.
Yeah, and out of that came the not only the coordination but also the partnership in putting the Fiestas Patrias together.
This is Patrias, and then on the veteran side, Memorial Day, Veterans Day, Christmas Christmas parade, and we had dignitaries come in from Washington, our local representatives and our city representatives, and we still do to this date have those Flag Day. I go to schools and elementary schools, and I fold a flag and I teach the students, and I give a little talk about what the flag stands for and what it does, and it's you don't worship it, you honor it, and I get a couple of students to fold it so they learn how to fold it in the proper way, and so some people think that we're just in the canteen, but we do serve the
A lot of public service.
service.
A lot of public service. Both of you were military people and participated as personnel in the military service, Navy and Air Force. You were in there several years there, 4 years?
4 years military.
And you were there 6 years or
It's a
so?
little over 6 years.
A little over 6 years.
I had a weird, I re-enlisted for 4, and President Truman gave me an extra year. They call it the Truman year, so I was supposed to get out, and they said, no, you're not. You're gonna stay another year, so,
See, you shouldn't have been that good.
yeah.
Anyway, being in the military those many years, did it influence your life? How did it affect your life? Did it make you more appreciative of this country, or did it make you more of I belong here because I paid my dues? I am a citizen, therefore I am privileged to everything that this country has to offer. Or did it give you more confidence to attack, or not attack, to face situations in the community? How did military service affect you?
Well, it did affect me quite a bit, for the better,
Mm-hmm.
and make me see the way the rest of the world lived, and sort of that influenced me too in the way go about doing things.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I learned quite a bit in the service, and I wouldn't change it for anything. I don't know, I'd do it again
Mm-hmm.
if I could.
So it was a positive experience for you,
Mhm.
Joe. Yeah. How about you, Dave?
Well, I think basically, first of all, it showed you discipline. It showed you pride in your country and yourself. It showed you to take care of yourself and to be a team member. I I wish every young man would serve at least a year. Because I don't think we'd have as many people in prisons. But anyway, it made you proud. And I remember being in Spain at a movie, and I saw the flag, and it brought tears to my eyes.
Ah.
Yeah.
So it affected you and made you feel that you were part of this country.
Absolutely.
Mhm. Now, you know, that sense of pride, that sense of belonging to, that sense of I paid my dues kind of feeling that both of you got. How did it affect the city or the community of South Colton? Because we had a lot of young people from South Colton that participated in World War II. For example, I read someplace in that big book that you have, one of those books that you have there, David. One of those books there?
These-
Yeah, one of those books. I read, I don't know which one, David, but one of those books, I read that the number of people from South Colton, the young people from South Colton that fought and participated in World War II was 487 men. 487 men, young Mexican Americans from Colton that participated, and 3 female. So almost 500 altogether. So my question is, you multiply yourselves almost 500 times, and you had that feeling of pride and belonging to. Did that make a difference in our community of South Colton? Everybody coming back and feeling that way?
I think it gave you more energy, more thought, more inner power, I would say, to participate. Beings that some of us were in combat, got shot, got killed, were prisoners of war, and come back, and you could equalize or be equal to anybody else. There was a lot of discrimination at that time, and because of the war, and you come back with, hey, I'm just as good, and therefore you participated or try to look for avenues to do what you had coming to you.
So do those things like you got involved with the veterans organizations, and you got involved with other community organizations, which were geared towards helping people and also helping the community in general. Yeah. Were there any memorials set up for our Mexican American kids that participated in the war? Did we have any memorials in South Colton? Like that pila, that fountain that's on the corner of O Street and La Cadena?
Yeah, there's in Fleming Park, there's a plaque there with some Hispanic names. On South Colton there's on 7th and N Street, I think there's a couple of them there. And also the South Colton Park is it's Veterans Park.
Oh, that's right.
Yes.
That's right.
And it's
That's
called
on Pine and O Street.
Veterans
Yes.
Park, and the cement company donated that big rock. Then there's a plaque embedded in there.
So our community was proud of you guys serving in military service, that they provided memorials or recognition to our veterans that participated.
Well, even today, there's banners that fly over the city of military people that had served. So that tells you something for the city, that it honors veterans, respects them.
Also, you mentioned that that you'd do it again if you had to do it over again. For example, participating in the military, did it affect the job opportunities for people that serve in the military service? For example, did you You came back and you were able to get your job because you left your job and you were given the job back. In your case, David, were you ever given any points on the civil service examinations?
I believe it was 5 points that you received when you applied for it because you were a veteran. So that helped.
Uh-huh. So there was that advantage of applying for jobs afterwards. Yeah.
Well, it's something that was embedded there that you deserved.
Uh-huh.
It was recognized, I guess. It was.
Right. Yeah. What about getting back to the community? You know, you started working with the organizations, the VFWs, and what about as you know, Colton was chartered in 1857, and in 1941 we finally had our first councilman, Jeremias Johnny Martinez Perez, who was the first councilman of Colton. That was 54 years later. Okay, now you coming back as military people, were you actively involved individually? You couldn't do it as an organization because that was against you just couldn't do it because it was a non-profit organization. Did you as individuals help the Pete Lukis and the Lacuas, the Pascual Olivas get elected to office or participate in those activities that we would have representatives in city council? Did you have that sense of participation in the political process?
I can't say, I remember attending some meetings, but I wasn't, young and not political savvy. But that's where that's the beginning of knowing meetings and how they're conducted and the politics that, to me, meetings are formalities. Meetings are prior to the meeting. Once you get to the meeting, more or less things are pretty well set if you get your ducks together and then go through the process of implementing whatever you want.
So there was an
Changes.
awareness of
Not at all, no.
there was an awareness of helping people get into office, like Pete Lukey or Pascual Oliva, or some of those folks that were running for office in the city council of Colton. Yeah. Let me ask you about education. Again, amid being a military person, did you take advantage of the education that was offered by being a veteran?
Oh, I did, and I regret it now, but
It was available to
the
you.
reason I didn't because I already had a job and I didn't need no more. Or I thought I didn't need no more. You know?
Well, I feel the same way. I went to Valley College and I just took some social studies. But I had a job and that came first, You have family and children, you have a home to pay, a car, and
Those things that
So-
you need to live. Food,
Right,
transportation.
and so because of the job and when we used to work, going back to when we used to work out of town, we used to get a per diem. It was, do you recall, it was $16?
Yeah,
$16
a day.
A day. And nowadays, $16 is not even wages an hour, And
But that was a lot of money.
no, that was a lot of money. Yeah, we had our wages plus our per diem,
Yeah.
and that was needless to say. You had a better car, you had a better life.
Did you know many of the guys that you knew as veterans? Did you know any of them that took advantage of the GI Bill?
I think Nacho's brother did.
Tom Cabrera did.
Yeah.
Tom Cabrera did.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tom Cabrera went to Woodbury a county school in Los Angeles.
Mm.
Offhand, I can't right now think of anyone.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, because when I was a counselor at Valley College back in '70, that was late. We still had many veterans that were enrolled either full-time or half-time, and they would pick up their GI benefits every month. Yeah. What about,
I did buy a house with,
I was gonna ask you that, how you're an inquisitive guy, because my next question was housing.
I did.
You know, the housing, you know, back in Colton, as you know, it was a segregated community. North Colton, and then you had the tracks, and you had South Colton, Mexican town. And then in one veteran, two veterans, one that was in the Navy, is Cecil Ayala, and then the other one that was, I think in the Army, Cervantes, Ralph Cervantes. They wanted to buy a house in North Colton, but the situation that we had back then is that no, you cannot buy a house in North Colton. You cannot buy a house. But Ralph, you know, went ahead and went to court, and he won his case. So he was one of the first people that bought a house in North Colton. And then Sal had the same problem. I think he was 53, 54, and he had the same problem. After you came back from the service, David, you mentioned that those guys laid the groundwork for you. That when you bought the house in North Fulton, you didn't have any trouble.
No, well, the house I bought was in Utah when I was transferred over there.
No, but when you
But
when you bought your house in Colton.
I bought a house in Colton. No,
Yeah.
there was no problem. NG Oliva was another one that wanted to buy on the north side, and he couldn't buy, so he went to Loma Linda and
Okay.
had a house there in the middle of the orange groves. And now there's houses all over the place. The orange groves are gone.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he was one that he said, "To heck with them, I'll go someplace else."
So there was that situation where you couldn't buy a house
yeah.
in North Colton.
Well, also, I went to the municipal pool, and they wouldn't let me in because of the color of my skin. We had two theaters, the New Colton Theater and the Hub City Theater, and we had to sit on the left side. You recall that?
Yeah, remember that? Yeah.
And so that's the way it was.
Matter of fact, I remember sitting there, that's when the war started at Pearl Harbor. We were sitting there looking at the movies, and all of a sudden they announced all the loudspeaker P system that all military personnel report to their bases. And I said, oh, I wonder what happened.
Oh, that was December 7th, 1941.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when it came out, and then we heard they had bombed Pearl Harbor. I said, oh my God. They were war with the Japanese or whatever it was, you know, everybody was scared, you know, you don't know what's going to happen. You know. We've never been in a war before.
Do you remember there was a couple of families in Colton of Japanese descent?
Oh yeah.
Oh, tell me about that.
Oh yeah.
Well, they came around, they picked them up and took them.
Yeah.
Well, that was during the.
Henry something was his name?
Yeah, he owned a market, and he had two boys, I believe.
On I Street.
Yeah, and I used to hang around with them because I used to like to build model airplanes.
Yeah.
They did the same, you know.
And then there was a barber shop on J Street. That's where the freeway is now. And it was a Oriental man. And all of a sudden, the next day, they were gone.
Yeah, they were gone. They
Mhm.
never seen them again.
David, you mentioned that your dad came to Colton in early 1900.
My grandfather.
Your grandfather, in 1900. He worked for Portland Cement Company?
No, he crossed San Antonio, El Paso, 1901. According to my grandmother, they paid 2 cents to cross.
Right.
And what I heard when I was a kid, he worked at Patton State Hospital. He was a plumber. And after that, I don't know what happened. He got a job with the city of Colton.
And then being with the city of Colton, he was he worked as a
Sweeper.
sweet.
He had a broom
street
and a little
sweeper.
cart, and that cart's in the Cole Museum now.
Now, was that downtown Colton?
Yes. He would sweep around the main streets there, you know.
And
I
then what?
remember
remember
him, yeah.
Oh, you don't remember him?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's
yeah.
it.
Yeah. And then, you know, back and then in 1931 or so, what year was that? When one of the councilmen said we have to fire him because he's not a citizen, and therefore it came to a vote, and it was during the
Repatriation. There
Frank,
was
how do you say that word?
Repatriation.
repatriation. Yeah.
Program,
They were sending people back to Mexico.
and he was caught in that situation.
And one of the people in the city council put the finger on him that he wasn't a citizen. So there were other councilmen that backed him up. They liked him a lot. He was very popular, very well mannered. Yeah, I remember that people would say, "Hey, your grandpa, he's always tips his hat when the ladies came around, you know." So he became a citizen. And
Well, the vote was that he would not lose his job.
no,
And then 2 weeks later, after the vote, he became a citizen.
right,
And then he got his permanent job again.
right. And my grandmother became a citizen also.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And it was tough in those days, you know.
I can imagine, yeah.
Reading and writing and knowing the history of the United States and stuff.
Well, yeah, and that was a personal situation, but overall, the feeling towards Mexicans was that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our schools, they're taking our health services, and they're taking them away from American citizens, so let's send them back to Mexico. That was the feeling, really.
Mhm.
That was the feeling. That was during the 30s.
Right.
And your
that
grandpa
was-
got caught in that.
Yeah.
Your grandpa got caught in that. Both of you were born and raised in Colton, eh?
Oh, yeah.
What did people do for recreation? When you were a little kid, you mentioned the plunge in South Colton. Is it Caldera plunge?
Yeah.
Okay, you mentioned the Caldera plunge in South Colton. And you lived on Fifth Street during that area.
Yeah. uh-huh.
Yeah, can you, either of you or both of you tell us about your experience and what you remember about the Caldera plunge?
Well, I was just I guess I was 6, 7 years old. I don't know. And my grandma used to take me over there, and because Juan Caldera's wife, Eulalia, was my grandma's comadre.
Ah,
So they sat there and comadrear, you know.
Maria, yeah.
And then I was there in the children's, they call it la pilita, the little water fountain coming out and water would be coming in. And I remember Rick Castorena.
Yeah.
Ricky.
He used to climb, that thing was humongous, a diving board. And he was the only one, man, and he'd come down and beautiful swan dives he put in there. And so that, and then there was baseball teams.
Yeah, where was it located, Dave? Where was the center located?
It was on 5th and Fog, right?
Yeah. Yeah. uh-huh.
5th and Fog. And next door to it, in the corner of 5th and Fog, that's where the ballroom, I guess you'd call it, saloon, or that was made out of.
What was it, a dance hall?
The dance hall that was made out of PFE boards from the railroad cars.
By the box cars?
Yeah,
that were-
they have PFE on the side there.
Uh-huh. So the building material was from the box cars that
Right,
were
right,
taken apart of the PFE,
Right.
and the lumber was
Yeah.
brought back, and
right.
they built the dance hall with
Uh-huh.
lumber. Uh-huh.
Mhm. Yeah, and
They also tell me that was a baseball field.
I don't,
Yeah,
you
they
recall
were
that?
Further north.
On
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 Fifth
Con- on
Street.
Congress?
Fifth Street, just before you got to Congress. There was a
Well, what's
baseball field and also another ballroom. No, another ballroom too. Dancing, and all that sort of thing.
Pickering,
I can't remember.
Jubilee?
Not Arthur's
Cup.
Club.
Cup dance floor or whatever it was, I don't know. But anyway, the bleachers were right against the wall of the dance hall. The bleachers for the baseball, and of course there's a big field there. And on top of the dance hall, there was an eagle made out of wood, I guess, and they had light bulbs in them. And whenever they had a dance hall, they light that up, you know. And I used to go up there and sit by the bandstand and hear the music, you know.
How old were you, Joe?
Oh, I don't know. I wasn't too old. I can't recall how old I was, but I was just a kid anyway. I used to sit there next to the band and hear the music, you know, and see the people dancing, you know, whatever. And go get they had like a bar on the site, you know, and the Caldera kids used to run it, you know, and they used to give me a soda pop.
And you were in heaven with that soda
Well,
pop.
part of the gang there, but it was a lot of fun. Just about every Saturday night, I think it was. They had dances.
Did they have good crowds from South Colton?
Oh yeah, they had good crowds.
Anybody from-
most of them hardly. Most of them walked, I guess.
Yeah, well, actually, I remember people from East Islands used to
También?
come, yeah.
Uh-huh.
And East Islands they had a little hall over there too. And, at first, I think it was a dirt floor. If I
In East
remember.
Island.
Yeah,
Oh, I didn't know that.
right there.
So a lot of people came to the Cabrera dance hall. And what about, they also mentioned a bull ring, David?
Well, I vaguely remember there you probably know
Yeah.
more there, right on Congress, west of Fifth Street.
Yeah.
On Congress.
Oh.
Caldera built a ring there,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
and he would bring bulls. They couldn't kill them, but they los toreaban, you know, back
Yeah.
and forth, and it was a fiesta type thing.
I helped a little bit. You know, they brought the boards from the PFE, I guess, and they put me and some of their daughters and brothers or whatever to take the nails out. With a hammer, you know.
Bang, bang, bang all day long.
Yeah. And I guess some other people, some bigger people, I guess, would build up the arena.
Uh-huh.
But it was exciting in a way.
So it was good for the community then.
Yeah.
It's good for the South Colton community because they had a place to be able to dance
participate,
and
you know.
to be spectators at the ball game and be spectators at the bull ring and then swim.
Yeah.
Swim, so it was a good thing. David, you have a wonderful book about Colton there. What's the title of that book?
This book has about everything in there. As the Sand Shifts in Colton, California by Hazel E. Olson.
Uh-huh. And you said it has about everything in Colton?
And it goes way back. Colton, I think he was the gentleman that worked for the railroad. He was some superintendent. And then like Fleming Park.
So they had, it's a history of Colton, mostly North Colton though, right?
No, it takes overall pretty much.
Okay,
Yes,
yeah.
yeah.
And you also have some other books there. The ones that were by the 7th Street folks, they were the Matadors, I think, or what do they call it?
It was, there's 3 books, and there's pictures. There's one military, basically military, whoop, it's not that one. But it has articles, newspaper articles, fiestas, parades, school pictures. What they did, they went to a lot of people that they know and said, hey, donate some pictures, we're making a buck, da-da-da. And a lot of people donated pictures, school pictures, fiesta pictures. That's my mother there. right here.
Oh, what a pretty girl. And your mom was one of the few Mexican-American girls that worked in North Colton.
She worked for a department store in Hellman's. And after that, she worked for Willett's, another department store. And when they made the freeway, she went and worked for Frank's Furniture.
Mm-hmm.
So she was in sales all her life.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
But she was kind of not run-of-the-mill kind of Mexican-American girl because she worked in North Colton, in stores in North Colton.
well, I guess the environment being around, and she was, if I recall, first Hispanic to be in the Colton Women's Club.
Ah, tell me about that. She was in the women's club?
Well, she got through there to her boss, Mrs. Frank Dayton, who owned a furniture store, and she introduced her to the women's club.
That she was the first Mexican-American?
If I recall, yeah, I believe so. And there was a furniture store, and across the street was Hunter's restaurant. Remember the
Yeah,
restaurant?
others, yeah.
We couldn't go eat there.
Where was
No.
this? Tell me.
It was right next to the Hub City Theater, across the street from Frank's Furniture.
Okay.
It was Hutton. What was the name of that restaurant? Do you recall?
Hunters?
Oh,
Hunters.
Hunters, yeah. There's also was the
He-
Candy Palace.
Candy Palace was there.
And you couldn't eat at the restaurant?
No, you. After a while, you could.
The only place they served, that was the Mission Drug Store. Remember the Mission Drug
Oh,
Store? They
Miss-
had the,
Yeah, Mr. McNair, the
had
Mission Drug Store, and he had these. It was
Copper-
He had a copper brass, copper cups, and he'd make
root beer.
root beer sundaes and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah. And
And at the back of the store, he had a weighing machine with the scales, So everybody go in there in the back store and weigh themselves.
And they was downtown Colton.
Yeah, right. Where the freeway's at now.
Oh, just across the street where the Anderson Hotel was?
Anderson Hotel.
yeah.
And there was a jewelry store there, and a magazine store.
J.C. Penney was it?
J.C. Penney was there.
The helmet store.
And then on the corner, remember Greyhound used to come by?
Yeah.
Greyhound-
Oh, yeah.
Greyhound bus.
Yeah.
And then down to the center of town to La Cadena, all the way up to San
The
Bernardino,
streetcar.
we had a streetcar.
You're kidding.
No,
Yeah. That's
La Cadena to San Bernardino?
Yeah.
A streetcar?
a streetcar. It was a red one, and it had electrical wires up on top.
Yeah.
And the conductor come off, then change the wire to the other, to go back the other way.
Yeah.
Was that part of the Pacific Electric system?
I don't recall.
Because they had the red cars and they went up to the Arrowhead Hotel.
I don't recall that.
So,
Wasn't it?
The Pacific, the
electrical.
the cart, the railroad, with trolleys, or I guess you call them, I don't know.
But where did they start in Colton?
Right there on J Street and, around J Street.
We're turning around with across the street with the
East of
the
J
railroad-
Street, before 9th.
The station, the railroad station,
Yeah,
across the street,
yeah.
and like a little park or.
Yeah, that was J Street.
Yeah.
And Chamber of Commerce was there in the corner.
Yeah.
So that was the turnaround or the pickup, the start
Right.
to San Bernardino?
Right, and it go
Yeah.
through La Cadena, I think went through Valley College there.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Well,
went up
God, I think there's still some tracks there in front of the hunting center. No?
there. Yeah,
Yes.
they took them out, didn't
They
they?
took 'em out? I
Yeah, I
think
think
so.
took them out. They made a bicycle thing or other exercise.
Yeah.
People walk by there.
But we did
But-
have an electrical
Oh, yeah.
passenger
Yeah.
company.
Yeah, I think it's in here.
Okay, all right,
Mhm,
yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask you about school. Where did you go to school?
Well, I went to the North Side School. Even though I lived across Garfield, my mother we had relatives that were close to the north. The kids from on Third and L, they used to go to the North Side School, to Grant School. It was a 4-room school. Had first grade and then first and
Do you remember any of the Mexican kids that went to your school with you? They were in grant school?
yeah, Ruben Aguilera, Angie, sister, Sammy Hernandez, myself, Bobby Aguilera. There was only about 5 or 6 of
A
us.
handful of you folks?
5 or 6 of us.
And then where did you go to junior high school?
Roosevelt High School. I didn't speak English
Yeah.
in elementary school, so I was kept back 1 year. In those days, they kept you back, and so then Roosevelt.
Roosevelt and then Colton
Then
High
the
School?
junior high one.
Yeah, it was a junior high,
And then Colton High School?
and then Colton High School.
What years did you go to Roosevelt?
Oh God, it was in the 40s.
When did you graduate from Wilson, from high school? Colton High School?
50, 51.
So that's 4 years earlier. Yeah, 4 years earlier.
Yeah, there's probably a permanent record card still at Colton Junior High from when you attended Roosevelt.
Okay, don't look at my grades, okay?
And Joe, where did you go to school?
I went grammar school. I went to San Salvador.
Because you lived on Fifth Street,
On
right?
Mansa. On
Yeah.
Mansa was
Oh, that
towards
was.
the cemetery, going
Yeah.
to the cemetery. And there was a lot of...
Oh, it was in Aguamansa. The school was in Aguamansa?
Yeah, Aguamansa, yeah, on Aguamansa Road. That's the, what do they call them?
Well, it was the main road to Riverside in those days.
Yeah, uh-huh,
And it used to go to the cement plant over in Riverside,
yeah,
Crestmore.
yeah. That's, what do they call it? Mission,
Mission,
oh,
yeah, Mission
no,
Valley.
that's where the missioners.
Oh, it's the Aguamansa.
Yeah.
The
What's
school
the
was
name?
San
San
Salvador, wasn't it? San Salvador?
Huh?
San Salvador?
Yeah, San Salvador.
There was a church there too.
What do they call where the missionaries used to go from the Asistencia in Redlands?
It was Aguamansa Church.
Yeah, and they used to go to St. Gabriel, the mission St. Gabriel.
Okay.
And they used to rest, they used to come from San Diego and rest in Redlands. And then they go to St. Gabriel Mission. And I guess they went up north, wherever. What do they call them, those roads, those streets?
Oh, the,
Camino Real?
El Camino Real.
Camino Real?
Yeah, Camino Real, yeah, Camino, that, Aguamansa is a Camino Real. And matter of fact, there was a little village there.
And it got washed away in the flood.
Yeah, uh-huh,
So you went to school in San Salvador there?
yeah, and the San Salvador was up on higher.
Yeah.
It was only a two-room school, and had grades up to 6th grade. I get the 3 on one room and 3 classes on the other room. And I graduated from there. And the next thing, I ended up in Wilson. It was junior high then. And but there was a lot of early California family living in the area.
Alvarado's.
The Alvarado, the Martinez's.
Remember the milkman? What the hell is the name?
Oh,
Frank-
Frank
Suarez?
Suarez, he was a Portuguese.
Yeah,
He was
Suarez.
Portuguese, but he speaks Spanish like, like nobody's business, and he had a dairy there.
Mhm.
Well, so you grew up with those guys?
Huh?
You grew up with those guys?
Well, they
Yeah,
were older.
yeah.
but,
Yeah, they
you know,
were older, yeah.
And he used to deliver milk.
Milk, yeah.
And then we had a iceman also come around. And you
Yeah.
have a little card, yellow card,
Uh-huh.
and if you wanted 5 pounds, 10 pounds,
Yeah,
you put the
whatever
it was a
pound you
triangle
wanted.
thing.
whatever was hanging on, that's a pound, amount of ice you wanted. So the iceman knew, so he just carried it and put it in your
Frank-
ice box and,
And as soon as he went in with the ice, us kids go in the truck and get some ice.
Frank, you're gonna say something.
but it was,
No, I was gonna say the Suarez house, isn't that on the corner of Aguamansa and Rancho?
It was, yes,
the house is
I think
still there.
Rosales lives there now.
Yeah, Rosales.
oh yeah, around the corner,
Yeah.
No, if you go to,
Soko.
if you ever go to the cemetery, there on Aguamansa Road, you'll see a lot of the old families still, you know, you recognize their names or their families.
I have an uncle there. Yeah.
Yeah, Socorro lives in one of those houses, Socorro Rosales.
Uh-huh,
yeah,
lives
right.
in those houses.
Uh-huh.
So from there, Wilson School,
Yeah, I graduated from San Salvador and to Wilson, not to Wilson, yeah,
and then high school, Colton High School.
and then to Colton High School.
Yeah. You know, we've been here almost an hour, so let me ask you another question, and I don't know
Let me
whether-
interject one
Okay.
thing. Another delivery, remember the newspaper, La Opinión?
Yeah, La Opinión,
They
yeah,
used to come in a big old Buick, I think it was,
yeah,
and it was, he come with, from LA. I forgot his name.
yeah, I remember.
Well, what years were those, David? In the
In the
40s?
40s, I guess, yeah, in the 40s. And we had the ice.
Before the war, it was before the war.
Yeah, I guess in the 30s, late 30s.
And there's also another man that they used to sell clothes.
Oh, Marquez.
Remember?
Marquez.
Yeah, Market,
Marquez used to come with a car full of clothes and
blankets and pillows and what have you.
even medicine.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know.
It was,
about
there used to be another guy, he had the Rolling Man.
yeah. Oh,
The
yeah,
product-
yeah, yeah,
Rolling-
yeah, yeah.
And he used to sell the salve, and that salve, I still have one at home. It was for animals and humans. Any little cut you get, boom, put some of that salve on it, boom, you'd be ready to
And
go.
when they paid him, you know, he'd give you a little candy,
Yeah,
little wrapped up candy, and you know, to the kids, you know, to the family that he sold the stuff to, and yeah, and you know, Margaret had a
Marquez?
beautiful daughter.
Oh,
man, oh man, she
real.
was beautiful.
Well, we were talking about, what was that? Javier, his son.
Marquez, Javier
Yeah,
Marquez.
yeah, he's still around.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, he's still around.
I was gonna say, we're talking about old times. What about the Three Flowers pomade that you put on your hair? Three Flowers.
Three
Or
Flowers?
what was it?
The tres flores. I remember they used to put Jarris, that green thing, when you go to the barber, they put Jarris on there, and you come out smelling like a, I won't say it here, but,
Oh, Jairus,
yeah, Jarris.
yeah.
Hair tonic or some kind.
Yeah. Oh, it's I think we had a pretty good young life.
Oh, yeah.
We had a lot of fun. We didn't.
You could be
They
outside.
said they were prejudiced against us, and it didn't even bother me whatsoever. You know, just life still goes on.
Oh, yeah, well, mostly because we were in our own community, right?
Yeah, sort of. Yeah.
We were, and then everybody that worked at the PFB or the Southern Pacific or at Portland Cement
Yeah.
or La Volucha Citrus
Yeah.
Industry,
Oh.
they all lived in Colton.
Even
They
I
all lived in
picked
Colton.
oranges when I was a young kid.
Yeah.
We used to go to Hammett. My
Pick
grandmother
the
take us-
apricots.
Take apricots and
Yeah,
And,
and
work over there picking grapes. And they gave me a job of taking the fruit to the ladies, and the ladies would cut the fruit in half.
yeah, put them on boards.
And then,
To dry them?
and then when you come back, go to school, you buy a pair of Levi's for $5.
Yeah, that was yours for the whole year.
Yeah, the whole year, yeah.
And Joe, you mentioned that you would pick cotton.
Yeah, I picked cotton up north, up by Delano and so on. And you know what? I used to go to school pretty nice school. It was integrated school, beautiful.
Where?
And the name of the little town was Early Mart, and they at that time they had what they call it, the airmail week, and you had to draw a poster, and whoever about airmail week, and whoever won one in each room would win a airplane ride. And I happened to be the one that won on my room, and another girl,
Okay.
and they took us down to Delano at the airport. And that's why I took my first airplane ride in 1937, I think it was.
Oh, my
Oh, you were
Yeah.
you were 10 years old?
Yeah, it was a two-seater plus the pilot.
Cessna?
And man, he took us around for about a half hour around the area, And man, they sort of scared after I got down, and all my ears were plugged up, and I couldn't hear him tell me, did you like it or didn't you like it? So I couldn't hear what they were saying.
So that was one of the benefits of going crop picking, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah,
happened.
it was an adventure. Let's put it that way. A good experience.
excellent
go through.
experience.
So
Yeah.
you talk about it now, and sort of like, well, why not? Huh?
Yeah. One of the things that I asked both of you yesterday was we had a big flood in Colton in
Oh, yeah.
1938. We had a
Right.
big flood, February of 1938. Do you remember that flood or?
I wasn't in Cole. We were still up north, but we came back and we were staying in Santa Ana over there with our comadre. And my father was working there for a little bit, and when we decided to come back to Colton, we seen all the destruction it made. Well, it's already happened, but I said, well, I
Yeah.
don't know. So
David, what areas were affected there where the O Street is? And,
Well, I remember I had an uncle that worked in Santa Fe, and right on La Cadena, going south from Valley College, there was a dip. Remember that dip there? Now where the flood control canal's there now.
oh yeah,
There was a dip, and that thing was, and so somehow my aunt got word that he couldn't come home because it was flooded. So my mother and I, we went to stay with her, and it was rain. I thought it'd never stop, and we stayed there overnight, a couple of nights. Finally, it receded, and he came home, but he couldn't cross
couldn't cross that bad. Huh?
that bad. Yeah.
And you mentioned the damage the flooding caused in around the
Well, down there,
Veterans Park area, Pine Street.
South Congress, Pine Street and Flores Street. Everything was soaked and washing away. You go down to the river, you could. Now it's bone dry, but
Yeah.
that area was terrible.
Yeah, I don't know. I wasn't there at the time, so we missed it.
And if you notice in some areas, the soil is sandy and rocky, and it came all from that flood. Yeah.
Yeah, so that happened. So that created a lot of damage in South Colton
Mhm.
as well as North Colton.
Yeah.
Let me just kind of wind up our conversation. Let me ask you the question. Did I miss anything? Is there anything that you would like to share with us? Did I miss anything that I should have picked up? Or something that you would like to contribute to our discussion this morning?
Well, I'd like to say something that I wish these young people would nowadays look back and understand what happened in those days. Every time I go to the pool and I see nothing but brown seals there, they don't realize why they're there now.
Yeah, like saying is, I stand on the shoulders of people that were before me,
Mhm.
and that's how I got to this place. Yeah,
Because they wouldn't let us in.
yeah.
And
So,
now it's different, and thank God, I believe we all get along and things, we work together instead of against each other.
but the idea that there was struggle before we got to this point.
Mhm.
And then we would behoove our young people to learn about our history. Because it just happened just a few short years ago, ¿verdad?
Really?
Because you're 87, ¿verdad, Joe? You're 87, and you're 83. It just happened a few years ago, well, during your lifetime.
Yeah, it's still fresh in our mind.
Yes,
Mine doesn't get old, it's just your body gets old.
yeah.
And I'll tell you, when I went to boot camp, in San Diego, Gene Kelly was in boot camp with us.
Nobody knows.
The dancer.
Nobody knows who Gene Kelly is. Is a
The
dancer.
dancer.
The Hollywood dancer.
You was with it?
Yeah, he was in the company ahead of us. I was in 619, and he was in 618, I think it was. And we used to see him, in the evening. They give us a little time off, cool off, from during the day, And we used to go out to where we were at, to the barracks, we were next door. And he'd go out there and do a little tap dancing for
Oh, yeah?
us.
A little show?
Yeah. And
That was the early 40s, yeah. The early
yeah.
40s.
In 1944, and we didn't know he was even there until they told us, "Hey, Gene Kelly's next door." Oh yeah, and he was famous already.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So it's just one of those things that happens that without you expecting it.
Well, listen, Joe and David, thank you so much for providing for us a glimpse, a little window into the experience that both of you went through, and were able to, I guess, not only contribute to yourselves, your family, but also to our community. And again, thank you so much for being with us this morning.
Our pleasure.
And I do appreciate if I could borrow some of your materials so we can scan them and we'll give them back to you. Okay? Thank you very much for being with us this morning.
You're welcome.